After their narrow escape from the evil Tomator, Eric the Swift, Olaf the Stout, and Baleog the Fierce lived joyous and fruitful Viking lives. Then, one day, while returning home from a fishing trip...
Are we there yet? I'm hungry.
Should have thought about that before we left.
Yes, you've eaten 3 times today and the sun hasn't even come up.
Well, no wonder I'm hungry.
So, I've finally caught up with the mighty Vikings again. Well, I'll show them.
Guys...
Let me guess, you've got a bad feeling about this.
Welcome back, pathetic losers. This time, you will experience the full wrath of the mighty Tomator. God, take them to the time-space modulation thingy and transport them to the arena.
Yes, Tomator. Prisoners, you will follow me.
And have some more. Oh no, not another system failure!
Prisoners,
Get it!
We grabbed some cool stuff from that robot. I wonder what it does.
No time to find out now. We need to get out of here.
Oh, look. A big shiny thingy. And there's a sign on it. It says Done Us.
Olaf, no!
Norse by Norsewest, The Return of the Lost Vikings, was originally released between April and May 1997 for the Super Nintendo, PC, PlayStation, and of course, the SEGA Saturn. Since it's Saturn Day, you're obviously looking at the Saturn version. Interestingly, Blizzard, the mega popular developer of such indie hits as World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Diablo, actually began their career developing unique and original titles such as The Lost Vikings, which was a fantastic game on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Well, among others too. The concept was incredibly simple. You control 3 lost Vikings who are trying to make their way home. Each Viking had a unique ability. By controlling each character and switching back and forth, you made your way through one level to the next. That's right, this was an action puzzle game of sorts, which there sure weren't many around, especially back then. That original game hit in 1992, so it's been 5 years, and naturally, a lot has changed. Or has it? After their daring escape from the evil Tomator in the original game, the Vikings are back, returning home from a fishing trip when all of a sudden, Tomator is back, teleports the Vikings to his ship, and one thing leads to another, and the 3 Vikings are lost yet again, except this time they're traveling through time in order to make their way home. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much exactly like the original game, but a few things have changed. For starters, the Vikings have some upgrades. Eric has the ability to swim and can now jump much higher than before. He also has the ability to dash and smash through certain objects. Baleog no longer has a bow and arrow, but instead a bionic arm, which allows him to not only attack enemies from multiple directions, that's right, you can actually aim where you want to attack, but he can also use his arm as a grapple hook of sorts and swing to other platforms so long as there's something to grapple onto on the ceiling. Olaf can fart, that's right, fart, in order to jump over short gaps. He also has the ability to glide if he holds his shield over his head, and he can repel or block incoming attacks. He can even shrink down in size to access areas others can't, so he's quite a useful character. The Vikings aren't alone this time around, though. They're joined by 2 newcomers, Fang and Scorch. Fang is a wolf that can attack enemies and can wall jump, allowing him to reach platforms no one else can. Scorch, on the other hand, who can also attack, but with fireballs, can also fly for a short period of time, after which he glides back down to the ground similar to Olaf. You can't use all 5 characters in the same stage though, I guess because that would be a little bit too complex, so the game always finds a reason why there are just 3 characters to use. The 31 stages start off simple enough, but before long the game gets increasingly challenging. There's good variety to the stages, and while the gameplay does start to get repetitive over time, there's a password system in place in order to start directly where you left off, which is nice, so you can just sort of take breaks. I also love the fact that passwords are only a few characters long. The development of this game is quite interesting. Blizzard developed the original game on the Super Nintendo, but Beam Software was tasked with developing the updated version for the PlayStation 1, PC, and Saturn. The SNES version used, obviously, 2D sprites and 16-bit music, much like the original. But the remastered version uses pre-rendered 3D graphics, a CD-quality soundtrack, and features a ton of excellent voice acting by the likes of Rob Paulson, Jeff Bennett, Jim Cummings, and Frank Welker. That's right, Megatron is in this game. Norse by Norsewest, The Return of the Lost Vikings, is identical to the SNES original, only with updated graphics and audio. So fans of the Super Nintendo version might want to check this one out if they're curious to see all the differences. Personally, I much prefer the SNES version because of the 2D sprites. I find these pre-rendered games from the early PS1 and Saturn generation just haven't aged well. Sure, maybe that's just my personal taste, but I'll take bright and colorful sprites over this any day of the week. That being said, this is an excellent game and one of the only action puzzlers on the system. If you think this is for you, you'll be happy to know that this version isn't overly expensive, although it is getting harder and harder to find. The SNES one is quite expensive though, whereas the PlayStation 1 version can be yours for fairly cheap. Whatever you do, this is certainly one to look into if you're a fan of the genre.
I can't believe I lost those little dirtbags. Now I've got to chase these idiots through time. I'm going to make them pay for this.